My name is Somati, and I work as a instructor and mentor in Coding Ninjas. Also, I work as a member of technical staff 3 in VMware. I have a total of 4 years and 4.5 years approximately. That many years of experience in corporate now. So yeah, that should be about me. Knowing more about me, I started working in corporate in support and moved to reliability, and now into R&D, proper R&D. So yeah, that is how I'm here right now. The topic that we are going to discuss about is basically a roadmap for product-based companies. And I will be more than happy take any questions that come across your mind. All right, you can unmute yourself, ask me, or put it all over on chat. I can answer it either ways. This has to be an interactive one because it's too vast, to be honest. All right, there are too many things that are to be covered. It is just too vast, so I will be just touch basing on each topic and the kind of rounds that you could be going through. All right, so okay, yeah, okay. Now let us start with the first thing. Okay, this slide that I'm sharing my screen is so that I don't miss out on topics. All right, this is just for my reference. I will be speaking more beyond that is there in the slides. All right, just a heads up. Okay, yeah, at the end of the webinar, I'll be talking a little bit on group discussions, a little bit on resume tips, technical round, definitely, managerial round, because we're talking about product-based companies. There will definitely be a manager round, unlike the service-based companies. So we'll be touch basing on that as well. And of course, do's and don'ts during an HR round. Okay, now I need to understand from the audience here, how frequently is a group discussion done nowadays? Because when I was placed, it was, as I mentioned, it was 4 years back, right? In lateral hiring, of course, I've switched companies, but in lateral hiring, we do not have like a group discussion, right? So I made this specifically for the college freshers. So you guys have to tell me how frequently do you have a group discussion so that I know how much I can elaborate on that particular topic. Anyone? Did you have group discussions for your interviews, for your company rounds? Or have you guys not gone through any interview yet? Any placement rounds yet?
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, hello. Okay, not gone through any interview yet. Thank you, Avinash. Anyone else has gone through an interview, anything? Right, so basically you guys have not gone through any interview process yet, right? Can I take that as a yes? Not gone to an interview. We have our placements in another. Okay,
Yes,
perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. All right, this is what I was looking for. So basically, I will give you a brief on the complete process, which means I need to, give a brief of the complete process. Yeah, this is what I needed. Okay. Before we even jump into group discussion, then, all right, the first round is always an aptitude test. All right. If you guys haven't started preparing for an aptitude test, that is like the first round of elimination. Okay, go through basic maths, which will be like 7th, 8th standard maths, which will be mostly questions on speed, time, distance, then percentages, some basics on ratios, proportions, and yeah, so these are the basic topics. All right, go through them, and every company's aptitude test is different. That is the reason why I myself is not able to tell you this are the topics that will appear, because when you are appearing for a company, let's say you have a company sometime back, sometime later, make sure you do a research on what kind of questions appear for their aptitude test. Okay, some go through a psychometric test. I remember IBM during my times had a psychometric test, which is basically does not have a right or a wrong answer. It is your opinion and how stable are your opinion across the questions. All right, so that is a psychometric test. I'm going to give a touch base. All right, note things down, go back and do a research on these things. You will really find these important. Okay, and a proper aptitude test, if you're going through, it will have a mathematical section, as I mentioned a few topics of that. The second could be LR, logical reasoning. The third could be a little bit on the verbal section. A few companies have all these three topics included. Okay, verbal is again English, some basic your understanding on how fluent you can be, or your understanding on how good English that you can be speaking. All right, and yeah, these are the three things that could be there a part of the aptitude test. All right, this is very important. If you guys think that you are anyone of, if you're strong at it, well and good, but if you think that you lack anywhere in aptitude test, this is the number one elimination round. Okay, the first elimination round. Please make sure that you're good with your aptitudes. Okay, does not happen overnight. If you haven't made any progress, make sure you're doing it bit by bit every day. Okay, go through a list of the companies that come to your college for recruitments. Let's say the product-based companies. See, this is the same for product and service-based companies. All right, product-based companies will have the more difficult ones, which will include these three topics. All right, service-based companies, a few, if they're giving you a good profile, good of course salary, right? The profile and salary, they could have a little more difficult aptitude test. Also, besides these three topics, which is LR, maths, and verbal, there could also be a few questions on coding in the aptitude test itself, if it is a product-based companies. I remember when I was getting, going through the process of Zorient, it did have coding as well as with the other ones in the aptitude test itself. So how does it come? It's like basic multiple choice questions. Also, there could be a proper code or algorithm or pseudocode that could be required to be written. Now, what are these questions that can be coming up? I will speak about them in the technical round. But yeah, aptitude test could be a mix and match of multiple things. That depends on which company you're getting interviewed for. Okay. All right. Second is the group discussion. Now, group discussion is something that I really don't know how frequently is this taken, but I'll still run through it because major mistakes happen in this particular round. Okay. So what is a group discussion? So basically, a group discussion is something where there is an evaluator who gives you a topic, and then you are expected to speak on the topic, give opinions on the topic. And it is as a team, it happens as a team, as a group, right? So it could be 6, 7, 10, any number depending on how the interviewers are doing it, right? Okay, the power of starting and stopping a discussion. What does this mean? Starting a discussion is basically giving an introduction to the group discussion. Okay, you get a topic, and when you think that you can introduce, it is not giving out your own point. All right, let's say let me just take one example to make it a little bit simpler. Let's say the topic is science and technology. All right, now you just cannot directly, let's say Google Maps is your favorite advancement in technology. All right, that is what you are not supposed to say in a group discussion if you are starting or giving the introduction of a group discussion. When you introduce, you need to start with what, when, how did it start, when did it start, with what did technology come in the picture, and how has it been progressing, and what is the current state of technology, where have we progressed, and then you give your point, like what is your favorite one in it. Fair enough. Okay, so that's how a good discussion starts. All right, you're giving a wider view of the topic to the complete audience, to the complete not the audience here, to the complete people who are a part of the group discussion. All right, that is your own friends, maybe colleagues, maybe whatever it is. Yeah. Again, stopping a discussion major when I sat for hirings, right, recruitments, I have noticed stopping when it is to conclude a discussion, people still give forward their own opinions, which is not correct. All right, when you are concluding a discussion, you need to highlight the major discussed topics in that particular GD. The highlights of the GD are to be given in a conclusion. Okay, not too bad to jot things down, not like in a GD. When you're sitting in the GD, it's never too bad to sit with a pen and a paper so that you can jot little things down. Not that you need to write everything, but just bullet points, just that. Okay. Okay, second, how to approach an unknown topic. A lot of times we see that there could be topics, there could be more difficult topics, especially these product-based companies sometimes give a little difficult topics. It could be something on recent technology, or it could be something like SpaceX or cryptocurrency, something which is a little bit not everybody might know. Okay, otherwise general topics are easy. Do not worry much. Make sure you are updated with what is going on. That's all right. How do you approach an unknown topic? All right, let's say you get a topic which you are not very aware of. Do not start the introduction first. Okay, do not panic. Second, do not panic. When you panic, you forget to listen. All right, so you need to listen. When you do not know a topic, you need to listen to what others are saying. Okay, and then you can always pitch in, which means that you can then add to others' points. Never bad. It's better than not speaking anything in a group discussion, because if you do not speak anything, right, that is when you are sure that you are not going to qualify for the next technical round. All right, so you need to speak something. So the moment you see that this topic is not something that you're very comfortable with, remember to listen, understand what others are saying, be very mindful of what others are speaking so that you can add to that particular topic. Okay, because in a group discussion in general, right, you will always see some dominant speakers, some people who will always have something to speak, right? Dominant speakers. So listen to them and add to their points. Maybe that's never a bad option. Yeah. Number 3, countering a point you don't agree to. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is not my favorite, but yeah, it gets interesting when the topics are opinion based. All right. Let's just taking an example again. You will never get this topic, but it is just for the sake of explanation. All right. Let's say the topic is red versus blue. All right. Now, you want to speak about red, let's say, but the others have been speaking about blue, a lot of things about blue, right? Now, there are points that you really don't agree to, and you are thinking that maybe these aren't the right things. In a group discussion, because it is a discussion, you are never supposed to disagree or oppose a particular point that others have spoken. Always remember that. Choice of words in a group discussion is very, very important. Okay, never say things like I do not agree to what you say, or I oppose to your opinion. Okay, use little subtle diplomatic words like my opinion slightly vary to what you say, or I completely respect the opinions that you possess, but I would also like to say, you need to have certain set of terminologies that you need to use in a group discussion. Be mindful of that. Okay. Number 4, sorry, encouraging others to speak. Now, This is more like a team player attitude when you think that you have already spoken your particular topic, and there are people in that particular group discussion who are really not able to speak up. You can definitely pitch in. You can just to that particular person, hey, I think you wanted to speak. Let's say you gave your opinion and that particular person is not able to talk. That's when you pitch in a little bit and say, hey, I think you wanted to give your opinion. Is there something that you want to add? All right. So corporates, right, they're always looking for team players. Okay, but this is an optional point. The fourth one is an optional point, encouraging others to speak. This is when you have completely given your topic, you are done with your speech or with your turns of speaking. That's when you would want to give others a chance to speak. All right, be mindful of that as well, because at the end of the day, you're fighting for yourself against the others in a team, in a good way, isn't it? Yeah. Guys, I want you to ask me questions, so please put down in the chat if you have any questions related, because I know there could be so many questions that you may want to ask. No question is a bad question. If you want, you can put it privately to me as well, so that I can answer. All right, that should not be a problem to me. Okay, and I will take all the questions at the end. Keep putting up your questions. I will be moving on to the next and very important thing, which is the resume writing. I'm just going to touch base on the resume writing as well. Okay. You said you guys still have around 5-6 months left for the placements to start, right? Start preparing your resume along with your aptitude, along with practicing your GD, right? Start preparing your resume as well. Resume doesn't happen overnight again. Okay, you can always take reference from somebody else's resume, but make sure you are what you write in your resume. Okay, very, very important. Sometimes we see people have copied hobbies, even activities, and by chance, let's say recruiter, because nowadays that everything is a little bit virtual, right? We don't know in 5 or 6 months time if you would be actually seeing recruiters face to face. It could still be Zoom meetings, right? So the resume is the only thing apart than your face that you are able to produce to the recruiter. Okay, so prepare your resume very nicely, because at the end of the day, when there is a selection that is to be made, let's say there are 3 positions to be filled. Okay, it's a product-based company and they just require 3, and there are 5 good candidates that they got. All right, equally good, let's say, right? It's going to come down to looking into the resume. How attractive, how good is the resume made, how good is the resume? It's all going to come down to that. Okay, resume is that important. Okay, so yeah, tell me something about yourself. Now, this is a question that is basically asked in every round of interviews, or be it technical, be it managerial, be it HR round. This is a common question. I put it up in the resume. I mean, you don't have to put this in the resume, but if this question is asked, is basically summarizing your complete resume. This is the reason why I've put it up here. Now, when you have to answer, all right, the question, tell me something about yourself, right? When I have taken interviews, right, I see people stopping at name, college, from where they come from, and that's it. All right. It has to be a bit more. All right. So your resume has a lot of things in it, correct? So how do you remember this particular and the answer to this particular question? Remember a flow. Okay, in your head you have this flow ready, that I'm going to speak about my name, my college, and where I come from first. Then I will go to my projects, let's say my final year project or my third year project. All right, my skill set, what am I good at, what are the coding languages that I'm good at, or what I'm doing or what I'm practicing. Then the next could be my curricular activities. What are the activities that I've taken part of, the extracurricular activities or some social activities that you have been a part of. Then you speak about maybe your hobbies, then your strengths, and then you give it a wrap. All right, so when this question is asked, try to give a more innovative, a more nice answer rather than just giving blunt name, college, and what year you're studying or from where you come from. Okay. Write your strengths and weaknesses with care. Okay, this I have mentioned this because it is actually from a personal experience. Um, Especially in product-based companies, sometimes your strengths gets tested. All right, it's so happened that if you happen to write confidence as one of your strengths, right, it is possible that they would want to have a little bit of a stress interview. Now, what is a stress interview? Stress interview is where the recruiter is not acknowledging to what you say, maybe, and they are asking questions more rapidly, more quickly, because they want to check your confidence. That's what you have mentioned in your resume. That's one of your strengths, right? So whatever your strength is, just make sure you write it with care. That's all. Nothing more to it. Okay. Have a habit of tuning your resume according to the job profile. Very, very important. Very, very important. Every time, you cannot just use the same resume for every job interview you go for. Okay, this is something that I want all of you to understand, and I want you to put this in your head, right? Okay, because let's say the job that you are interviewing today, let's say it's tomorrow, let's say, okay, is for a Python coder. Okay, now if you know the language, right, if you know the language, make sure in your skill set Python is written in number one. Day after tomorrow, you might have an interview where the requirement is of a Java coder. If you know Java, write that in point number one. If you do not know the language, then write what is convenient to you. But if you happen to know that particular language, make sure that you have tuned the resume a bit according to what the requirement is. Always do a research before you go for your interviews. Okay, because these are very, very important. When at the end of the day, they are just left with the pieces of paper that is the resume, right? The recruiters, it really stands important when you need to select from a couple of people, right? Like three to be selected, five are there, so you need to eliminate two no matter what. We always face through these things, especially in product-based companies. The requirement is not high as compared to service-based companies. Okay, the requirement is low, especially freshers. The requirement is low, so you really, really need to act up and act smartly, at the same time be knowledgeable so that you can get placed. Okay, let us move to the next one, which is the technical round. Okay, is this everyone's favorite round? Could be easy, could be difficult according to what the questions are asked, isn't it? Yeah. So even if the job profile is even if the company is something that you are not aware of, right, be sure before you go for any technical interview, you do a little bit of research on what the company does. That is number one. Just like how I mentioned in the resume, similarly for technical round as well. Be very sure of what the company is exactly doing. Okay, be thorough with the concepts that encompass the profile. Okay, let's say the profile is of it's of a testing profile, right? So it's never you have not learned a lot of testing concepts in college, let's say, right? Do a research on what the company is. Okay, who are what are they doing, and who they are, and what kind of testing are they doing, because what is written in our textbooks could be a little primitive, right? So know a little bit about that, so that you can always add to your answers in a technical interview. Okay, however, that is just an extra additional thing. However, your concepts on data structures, algorithm, operating system, database, and one more that I've missed here, networking. I repeat again, data structures, operating system, database, and networking. These four topics can never fail you. Questions will be asked majorly from these four topics. Okay, Besides this, one coding language is a must. You have to, if you are planning to go for software companies, definitely and the profile is in R&D, or it's a coding or testing based profile, you need to know one coding language. That is something that you need to start if you haven't started. And they could have a requirement of more than one coding language, but trust me, if you know one properly, right, it's again at the end of the day about logic, algorithm, and pseudocodes, right? If you know one right, it is going to help for the rest of it. Okay, because knowing the syntax is easy, you can Google search and you get the syntax, but knowing the logic, understanding the requirements is what is important, and that is exactly what they're looking for. So know one coding language fluently, properly. Okay, and if you have missed your concepts on data structures, operating system, database, and networking, please go back, revise them again and again, because these are the questions, these are the topics that will be asked for sure. Okay, now how do you answer questions in a technical round? Okay, sometimes we see some students panic and they just don't answer anything. Okay, that is something which is not right, because that moment of panic, yeah, it's understandable, that moment of panic is bad and it makes you forget everything, but then remember that this is a one chance, you're not going to get multiple chances. All right, so if you are asked a question, let's say, which, I'll just take an example again. Let's say the question is on database, and the question is, what is a Cassandra database? I'm just taking a very, it's just a random example that came to my head. Okay, what is a Cassandra database? Now you know that the question is on database, right? But you cannot exactly recollect what Cassandra is, right? It could be a SQL, it could be a NoSQL database. Okay, let's say it is a NoSQL database. Okay, but you don't know what Cassandra is. So it is never too bad to probe questions. Do not ask a lot of questions, but if you can, if you can just ask that, sir, I know that the question is on databases, but it's not at the top of my head what exactly Cassandra is. Can you tell me if it is a SQL or a NoSQL or some other kind of database, right? So if that person says, oh yeah, okay, so that person must be thinking, oh, he knows the kinds of database at least. So so he says, let's say it's a SQL database. Example, it's not a SQL database. Example, the recruiter says it's a SQL database. Now you know what exactly the lengths and depths of a SQL database, isn't it? So now you are able to answer the question. It's definitely better than not answering anything. So what is the underlining thing again? Do not panic. If you get a question which you think you do not know at all, ask probing questions so that you are at least able to answer some part of it. Okay, now you have asked probing questions and yet you do not know what that topic is. You have no clue what he's asking about, the recruiter is asking about, which the chances of getting these questions are very little. If you have read your textbooks, your subjects properly, trust me, the questions are going to be from there itself. The recruiters are not stupid to ask any random question that is not relevant for college freshers, right? So make sure you know the topics well and you ask probing questions with care, a few probing questions. Now where was I again? If you know that a question is something that you are not able to answer, you just know in your head that you have no clue about it, you are not able to answer anything relevant or related. Okay, be honest and tell that you have no clue about it. Why? It is better than wasting 5 minutes of time. Okay, because the next question that the recruiter asks may be a question that you are aware of, right? So it's good that you do not waste your time on something that you have zero clue about. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Any questions from the previous ones? Please feel free to ask. I'll give you like maybe 1 minute before I move on to the managerial round. Please feel free to drop your questions here, because technical round I know could be challenging. You could have a lot of questions here. I keep switching between two languages while solving problems, so I can't say I know one properly. Is that a problem? Yes, that is a problem, Avinash. Because let's say it's a coder, it's a hacker rank round that you have got, all right, and you are asked to code in one particular language. This will be a problem. So one language syntax is something that I will recommend you knowing properly. One language syntax properly, end to end. And it's good to switch, I mean, to keep your mind open to different languages, but then you need to know one perfectly. That's what I have learned over time. And this will help you, just not now, even when later you're switching companies, right? Even till now, I joined from college. I was in VMware, then I joined to another company, and then I came back to VMware. Even till, you know, the last company that I was joining in VMware, I still had to go through a hacker rank round, which was basically coding something and giving the output, which has to be done in one language. Okay, Avinash, I hope that answers your question. Okay, perfect. Any other question, or can I move on to the next?
Ma'am,
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I'm second year student.
Mhm.
But I have a problem on verbal communication.
Okay. Mhm.
I'm fluent in English to speak.
Okay.
That's the problem. How can we solve it?
When you say verbal communication, you mean you are not able to collect your thoughts while you're speaking, or you're not able to speak whatever you're thinking? What is the problem exactly?
Speak English. Speak fluently English.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Because you're in second year, you still have a lot of time to improve. All of you who has this particular question, just not Krish, thank you for bringing this up again. You need to start now. Start today. Okay, learn bit by bit. And if you ask me, right, to start off with, stop watching other language series or movies. Give an attempt, watch English movies which has good vocabulary, to be very honest, because most of the vocabulary that I know is mostly from the series and the movies that I watch, right? So because it's easy to grasp, because you're so engrossed in watching something, right? So it's easy to grasp at that moment, because you still have time, because you're second year. That's the reason why that is one of the ways that you can definitely improve your English on. Okay, watch some good series that speaks good English. One. Number two, start writing things down. Think a topic in your head and start writing things down. Nowadays we have what do you call it, like when you type, you get the autocorrect and all, right? So you know where exactly your mistakes are, bit. So you start with that, you will eventually improve yourself. Number three, read every day. This is very, very important. This is a habit which has never failed me. Never. I still read newspapers every day. Okay. If you're even if you're not interested, make it a habit to read something every day. Maybe one topic, maybe one newspaper heading, maybe 3 pages of a book. Now, there are so many good books, right? Make sure you're reading half an hour of the day. If you're even more interested, 1 hour of a day, every day to reading, dedicate that time. It will never fail you. It will always give you a good outcome.
okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. What you say, I apply in my life.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much. If you have more questions, just put it on the chat, all right? Okay, thank you. Next, we move to the manager run. Okay, manager run is something that you will not be often seeing in a service-based company. managerial round is something that we will often see in a product-based company. Okay. Uh, uh, okay, just to give you a brief of what product-based and service-based companies are. I know you guys have a good understanding of that, but then just to re-emphasize on what the differences are. Service-based company is which takes up projects and does that for an end company, like Infosys, like Capgemini. The big recruiters, the mass TCS, the mass recruiters are mostly service-based companies. Okay, what is product-based company? Product-based companies are like Google, like VMware, like Netflix, then a lot of other companies which basically make their own products and sell them to others. Like I can give an example, like Infosys uses products of VMware. So Infosys is one of the customers of VMware.
Ma'am,
Similar.
like class one and having more clients, no?
Sorry, again?
Like class one companies, no, ma'am. Product.
Yeah, right. Like class one companies where you don't get projects basically, right? You improve on your product. Like let's say I work on VMware Cloud on AWS, right? So we have our product managers who brings in the feedback from our end customers. So our end customers could be anybody, and we improve on our product. That is a product-based company. Yeah, you're right. And service-based is where you basically have clients, a lot of clients, and you pick up projects and you do a database project and you do some or the other project using one or the other tools or coding language. That is a service-based company. Okay, now coming back to where my PPT was, managerial round. What exactly is a managerial round? Managerial round is a mixture of technical and a managerial, technical and non-technical, basically. Yep. It is usually taken by somebody who is highly experienced in the corporate and who has experience of both technical and non-technical thing. He was maybe a coder and then he switched his path to a managerial field. Those are the kind of people who usually take this kind of round. They are a bit scary and dangerous because they are very knowledgeable. They can catch you on your technical and non-technical aspect as well. Okay, so what are the tips that you need to be following for this particular round? Number one, be very conscious and mindful. Why? Because they are not the person who is going to ask you very deep technical questions. It's going to be very basic. Let's say how a router works or how a tube light works or how a lift works. These were the questions I was asked when I was a fresher in college, right? So that's why I'm giving you examples. So it's going to be very, very basic questions. You cannot probe on those questions. Number one. Like technical round, in technical round you could probe because the questions were not very basic. You could elaborate and answer, but managerial round questions are going to be very basic. Never try to probe. Be very conscious of what they're asking. Do not ask them to repeat the question again and again. No. And it's usually a logic driven round. They might ask you they might give you a riddle, a puzzle, right? Like a small riddle, and you might want to they might want to know how you are answering them. So basically it's basically a problem, and how do you solve that particular problem? Or there could be questions like, let's say your internet is not working, what are the steps that you followed in order to resolve the problem? So questions like this, very basic ones, are asked in the managerial round. Okay, and they could also ask you questions on how on the company. All right, so in a managerial round, before you go for a managerial round, make sure you have done again a thorough research on what the company is, company values are. So what are company values? Every company has these core values that are imbibed with them. Okay, because I work in VMware, I'm always giving that example. VMware has Epic too, right? So each company has these values. All right, so when the questions are asked in a managerial round, like how do you fit into the company, you can always give the company values along with your own strengths, so that you can tell them that you fit into the company. All right. These are a few tips of managerial round. Only if you are going through a product-based companies interviews, you will be having this particular round. You will not be having this mainly for service-based companies. Okay. Okay, next round would be the HR round. Okay, so who is an HR? So before you go sit for rounds, right? Question yourself, who is the person who is going to take the interview? You need to modulate your answers according to that particular person, right? Who is an HR? HR is a human resource, basically, who basically observes your behavior, your attitude, and your behavior. Okay, and also we might be asking you a bit on your compensation or on your flexibility to work on shifts or weekends, right? Because they're going to pay you. This is the person who finalizes your pay at the end of the day, so he needs to know how flexible you are with work timings, with weekdays, weekends, right? So when you are in an HR round, be honest with the answers you give. In the sense, when I say honest, it means that do not try to over explain things. All right, just give point to point. But again, if there are questions like, are you comfortable working in night shift, or are you comfortable doing weekends, right? If you want the job badly, never say a no to it. You need to say, because if you give a negative response, that might be a downfall. Okay, you may not have to do night shifts at all, but then it's just for their information if the candidate is willing to do a night shift or a weekend shift. All right. And again, knowing company core values is a plus, definitely, for an HR interview, because you will be asked your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal. So it needs to be, in sync with the company core values, with the company policies. You need to be in sync with the company policies, basically. Like, let me give you an example. Google, even after clearing all the technical interviews, which will include your coding, your 2-3 rounds of architecture, database round, there are different kind of rounds. Even after completing all of that, an HR is still eligible to say that you haven't cleared those rounds properly because of behavioral and attitude issues in those rounds. Okay, so HRs do have proper strength and proper grasp when it comes to product-based companies. So take this one with care, because I know a lot of people who haven't cleared HR rounds, so you don't want to be a part of that. Okay, that will be a wrap up from my end. I want you to ask me a lot of questions. I still have 7 minutes left. Please unmute yourself, ask, or please drop down your questions in the chat things. Okay, just saying a no in any of the questions in HR meant negative. Yes, it is. It is a negative. Like, if it is, I don't know on what kind of question can you say a no. I mean, any kind of negative, if the question is negative itself, you need to give double negative to make it positive, maybe. Okay, that's the only thing that I can think of. Otherwise, if it is, anything about salary negotiation, okay, it's freshers, right? For freshers, the salary is always decided. So if they ask you about salary expectations or negotiations, never try to negotiate, because it's not going to change. That's one thing. Okay, so if there is any question on salary, are you happy with the salary? Don't say no, say yes, it's as per industry standards. That's it. Finish that off, right? Try not giving a no kind of answer. Sometimes you need to fake it till you make it, isn't it? For a job or something of that sort. Not that you need to fake it completely. You are who you are till the last round. And even if you do not like doing night shifts, but for the job, if you say yes, I'm okay doing night shifts, it's never too bad, because these kind of questions are very common. That's what I've observed. Yeah. Yep. Any other question, guys? Please feel free to ask. I think I'm sitting with a very nice batch of students who are really aware of things. Okay. Hi, Samati. Any tips for experienced professional with regards to technical run in Google? I'm from embedded system background. Okay, so technical rounds in Google, right? There are multiple technical rounds that happen in Google, all right? There is definitely a coding round, number one. I don't know in which sequence it comes because I haven't interviewed myself one, but I know a lot of my friends who have done it, who got rejected, qualified, that depends. But then, yeah, so there is one round which will be on architecture, all right? There will be one round which will be on like an operating system and a mix of things, and also it depends on the profile. It highly depends on the profile. So if the profile is of a solutions, because the one that I'm saying of is of a solutions architect profile in Google, so there was a dedicated round for architecture, so processor architecture and some architecture level questions, and there was design and architecture. It was, yeah, I remember now. Then there was a round that was typically for the kind of experience you own. Now experience in the sense corporate experience you own. And there was a coding round as well. And coding round again, if you don't do it well, again there will be another coding round that will happen again. So yeah, these were the kind of technical rounds that were there. Harshal, does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Any tips for prepping algorithm to clear the technical interview? Okay, nice question. Any tips for preparing algorithms? To be honest, keep reading, all right? Keep revising, keep looking through those sortings, the trees, the sortings, and the basic ones that are there in your data structures, in your syllabus, right? Do what is there in your syllabus, to be very honest. Questions are not going to be rocket science, but it is going to be something that you know. For preparing algorithms, the only way that I have, pseudocode algorithm or codes is practice. Keep practicing. If you do something, if you understand something, try to do that in a different language, maybe. Keep practicing things. That will keep you on your toes always. And keep there are some online, right? You do find a lot of like coding ninjas itself, right? I know they send questions on coding, coding kind of questions that they send. So if you keep looking at these kind of questions, you will get a hang of algorithms, pseudocodes, and codes as well.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi, yeah.
Like, what is the difference between Coding Ninjas and Coding Studio?
I am from Coding Ninjas. I'm not sure what Code Studio is exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it is, I think, a partnership with Coding Ninjas. So I asked.
I am a part mostly of the interaction part, right? So I am not 100% sure. But yeah, I can definitely get back to you, or someone from the Coding Ninjas team can definitely get back to you on that. No worries.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. Thank you. Any other questions, or should we call this a wrap? How much importance needs to be given to lead code or hacker and problem solving? Yes, how much problems need to be in from these companies? Okay, good question again. You really need to give importance to lead code or hacker rank. All right, because those are the kind of questions that are asked, and those questions are pulled for different product-based companies as well. So the more you practice from lead code or hacker rank, the more it will be easier for you. How much problems needs to be aimed for these companies? See, again, you don't need to do some rocket science thing. Do what is basic, what is there in your syllabus. I know the syllabus is tuned, so if I give my syllabus things, it's going to be basically not so great. But sometimes what companies ask are really basic. All right, so I still remember one that I was asked was write a code where if like if there are two numbers where you need to input two numbers, and if the first number divides the second number, the output should be 0 or something of that sort, so they are, it need not be proper algorithm as well, it's also logic, mathematical logic kind of questions as well. So the more you practice, the more you're going to get a hang of it, because no two questions can be same as well, right? Does every product-based company have GD Round? Samrat, to be honest, I'm not sure how it is going now, after especially things have become virtual. For all the companies that I sat for as a fresher, I had GDs everywhere. Like every company had GDs. Did I sit for any service-based company? Yes, one. Yeah, even that, and the product-based companies, yes, had tougher GD topics, tougher and more intense GDs were there. So I did give GDs. So I'm not sure right now if you still have the GD concept, especially because everything is virtual, right? If it was face-to-face, I think it would be there, but because it's virtual, not very sure. Okay, running short of time. Any last question that I can pick up, or can I call this a wrap? My Mac is running out of battery. Okay, also, if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That is my LinkedIn. I don't have the link right now, but oh my God, wait. Hold on, I need to send it to everyone. That is my LinkedIn name. Just type my name, it's pretty uncommon, you'll find me. And if you want to send me an email, that would be my email address. I can assist as much as possible. Okay, thank you so much, Harshal. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this. I hope this helped, and all the best to all the rounds that you got. Okay, thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.